Hello and welcome to Never on the Back Foot. Well, today's episode is very special because we are discussing the legacy of Rahul Dravid, the coach. Now, Dravid's tenure has been one of the most successful periods for India, in their cricketing history. And I think the domination in your limited overs bilaterals has meant that India has been number one in both ODI and T20 cricket. They're not too far behind in tests as well. And to have this very interesting conversation on the podcast, joining me today is Rohan Shetty, an ardent cricket fan who has played cricket at the university level. And for those who have been following this podcast for almost 4 years, he was one of our first guests. So, warm welcome to you, Rohan. I'm still thinking what took so long to get you back, but really happy to have you here and just have this conversation. So, without further ado, as well, let's dive deep into our conversation. And before we get into the Rahul Dravid side of things, what was your first reaction when India won the World Cup? Where were you? And just talk us through that.
Yeah, I was watching it at my friend's house in Mumbai. I wasn't even in Bangalore. So, I mean, we were all watching with like a group of like maybe 10 of us, and it was really exciting. We thought we are going to lose until it was like 30 runs of 30 balls or something. And then Bumrah came in and Hardik and Bumrah came in, and then that catch by Surya Kumar where just went wild. So it was, yeah, it was amazing, and it was a long wait. I think finally we got what we deserved. I think India had deserved a World Cup for quite a while now. So yeah, finally we got what we deserved.
Absolutely. I mean, it was a special win. And just looking at the context, of our conversation as well. Now, this was Rahul Dravid's stint as the India head coach. This was going to be his last swan song, so to say. So, do you think it was that fitting farewell that Rahul Dravid absolutely deserved? And finally, all of those, years of trauma and not have winning an ICC trophy under his reign just finally came to an end?
I think it was a minimum he deserved and India deserved. Ideally, if you look at his tenure, it's been two wins away from the complete set. So he would have won the World Cup and the Test Championship as well. So this is like the bare minimum, I'd say, of what he deserved, and it's a good way to go. But I think he deserved even more than what has happened because of how much work he has put in, not only through the Indian main men's cricket team, but also the India A and under 19. So it's been a long ride for him as well, taking that journey to the men's team, and this is the minimum he deserved.
Certainly, and I think under Dravid as well, right? I spoke about this earlier. We've seen one of the most successful periods in recent history for Indian cricket because when you contrast it with, say, the Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli era, again, a few near misses here and there, but at least the Rahul Dravid, Rohit Sharma era has some, like ICC trophy because a lot of people look at owning silverware as like a marker for success, so to say. But just looking at the bilateral cricket aspect as well, in limited over assignments, both away and at home, what did you make of Rahul Dravid's, strategies, the mindset, and the kind of philosophy he infused in that team?
I think it was so. I wouldn't say there has been an inclination towards aggressive batting towards at least the top order. That's been a strategy, but I wouldn't say that's a new thing. So even under Kohli and Ravi Shastri, it was pretty aggressive style of cricket, aggressive brand of cricket. But I think through the losses that we've had in the World Cups and the main tournaments is where you kind of see that England and Australia kind of have that winning mentality where they know that it doesn't matter what form they're in, it doesn't matter who they've played earlier and who's performing, what stars are there in the team, who's out. They just kind of feel like they have the right to be there and right to be playing for those trophies. I think that was that might have been lacking in our mentality. So when you take that kind of approach in terms of aggression, in terms of believing that yes, we have the right to be here, we have the right to win these tournaments. It's not like anybody's better than. We knew that the Indian team is really talented. So that strategy, it's the strategy of batting more aggressively, but also the mentality of keeping that aggression throughout the innings and not depending on one particular batsman. Like say maybe Kohli was overly depended on throughout maybe the Ravi Shastri era a lot. I think more recently he's been batting more freely, and that gives other players every game. I need to take that responsibility as well. So I think that shift in mentality has played a big part.
Certainly, and we have some interesting comments coming in as well. We have Akshat who goes on to say Rahul Dravid lost as a player in West Indies in that 2007 ODI World Cup, which was crushing for all of Indian people. But winning the T20 World Cup in West Indies is a perfect story of redemption and comeback. So, Rohan, I'm pretty sure, 2007 is good 17 years back. But do you have memories of this loss, the soul crushing defeat that a lot of fans, so passionately talk about? And this kind of reminds us why sports is like a fairy tale, right? Making those comebacks, you're backed against the wall, and you just end up making history.
Yeah, I mean, if I did remember that, I think I'd be pretty much older than I feel right now, because I was only 7 years old at the time, so I hardly remember anything. But I do remember maybe once I reached the age of 11 or 12, once I got that bit of consciousness or whatever about all the stories that happened and how much hate he got. And the thing is, there was also in 2007, it was like towards the end of Dravid's captaincy stint, and at that time he had also won the England Test series. So India won the Test series in England for the first time in 21 years. So it these kind of things kind of overshadowed how good a captain he actually was. I mean, he wasn't like the best, I'd say, but he was a really good captain. He was an underrated captain. So the thing is, we have a very fickle-minded view of our cricketers. We treat them as gods at one point, and then the moment something slightly like this happens, it just all falls apart. So he didn't deserve that hate then, but if you look at it in a cinematic story point of view, that kind of helps the whole story come to a crux at the end. So in that context, it kind of maybe feels good. But I say he never deserved the hate at that point either, because he was actually a pretty good captain, and other things kind of overshadowed. But I think this is a really good redemption in terms of winning the T20 World Cup. He deserved more. Like again, I say the finals against Australia and both Test Championship and World 50 over World Cup, he deserved more. But yeah, I think this was a fitting tribute.
Absolutely. I mean, we will get to those soul crushing defeats, so to say, in a bit. But I think even Arun goes on to add that Rahul Dravid was 10 when India won the 1983 World Cup. By then, okay, I think he meant he must have started playing cricket and even training. Even he, like a Sachin Tendulkar, must have dreamt of winning that World Cup. 41 years later, after playing three World Cups, including being the highest scorer, reaching the finals, captaining one, which was an absolute disaster, becoming the NCA head, winning the under 19 World Cup as a coach, and now this long, long journey. So it's of course very beautiful in that sense. But Rohan, have you
Yeah,
been reading reports as well of Rahul Dravid being approached by IPL franchises to kind of join them? The whole swap between Gambhir coming in as the head coach for India and
yeah.
him being approached by KKR. Do you think he'll again fit in an IPL sort of setup? We've seen him in the past. Rajasthan Royals. Do you again see an IPL comeback of sorts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it kind of feels like he's done the long hard yards and now can earn a big good paycheck at the IPL maybe. So we've seen how good he was in the IPL as well. He's reached the finals, the infamous cap throwing incident, which every Rahul Dravid fan like kind of brings tears to your eyes whenever you think about that. But yeah, I think he definitely can. I don't see any reason why not, especially since he's won the T20 International World Cup now. That gives an even better resume and portfolio to kind of be like, yeah, I mean, maybe RCB. I mean, we never know. We never know.
Okay,
Or
that's very
RCB could be
optimistic
the
of
best
you.
victors.
Yeah, to think of
RCB
him
could be the
coming back to
benefactor.
RCB. For
Yeah,
sure, yeah. Yeah. And even just looking at Dravid's tenure, right? I think in our conversation earlier, you spoke about how India made it to the finals of two marquee events, that was the World Test Championship and the 50 over World Cup. Both the times we had very tough defeats, versus Australia, and India missed out on that. So, again, Rohan, do you think it was somewhere like a lack of strategy, or do you think it was just sheer bad luck and it was just not meant to be?
think it all came down to Travis Head, honestly. Both the finals, he's kind of decided like, yeah, I'm gonna be the party pooper and not gonna let all these billions of Indians enjoy a bit of it, and Rahul Dravid as well for some reason. But it's a lot of bad luck, and I'd say in the World Cup finals at least, I don't know, the strategy seemed a bit off. I mean, obviously they'll have a proper strategy in place and stuff. For some reason, it seemed like the pitch was a bit too paced in the first innings, and we still decided to bat first. I mean, normally it's more difficult to chase in finals, but the thing is, you can't only take that into consideration. The pitch seemed pretty too paced. While I was watching the game, I was wondering, like, are the conditions going to get worse? I So that's why they decided to bat, but seemed like it was perfectly placed for Australia, and especially Travis said, to just take away the game. It was kind of painful because I think the first few overs were pretty optimistic for India, and then he just took the game away. Then the Test Championship finals as well. We had been playing really good cricket, everything was going well, and then, I mean, on the first day itself, Travis Head and I think Steve Smith had that huge partnership, and that just kind of sealed the deal. Unlucky, deserved more, but it happens. It's just the Aussies have that mentality for some reason. Like, it doesn't matter where they're playing, what they're playing, they just show up in the big tournaments and big matches. Hopefully, this is the start for India as well, because we definitely have the talent. We definitely have the talent, the effort, everything goes in. Is just maybe that slight mentality that the Aussies have that maybe we can also learn from.
Certainly, I think these losses have taught us more than those wins as well. And we also have Akshat going on to add that I doubt Dravid will do any coaching roles for a few years. He'll take a break or something, and then think of coming back as a coach. Perhaps that could be a thing. He has a son, right, who's also into cricket, is an
Yeah.
upcoming budding cricketer, so he might invest his time there as well. And Arun also goes on to add that I was 16 when he made his debut for India, so a career that I have followed throughout. Rohan, I believe you are also an ardent Rahul Dravid fan, so you also started following him like very early.
Yeah, I kind of like idolize him since I was a kid, not just in terms of cricket or anything, in terms of his whole personality and how he carries himself and how he speaks and everything. He's also a Bangalorean, which added to the whole idolization. So, I mean, it's someone who's kind of shaped who I am as a person through the early years. It's like a role model to whom I like looked up to, not just in terms of playing cricket, but in terms of my behavior and how I kind of like deal with situations and trying to stay calm and not being overly I wouldn't say overly emotional, but not overdoing anything and just sticking to the situation and getting things done. I think it's been a wonderful career he's had, and the way he's carried himself. I don't think there's been any criticisms of his character at all. So exactly. So it's been a great career, and yeah, I've been following throughout, and I'm still following. And hopefully, like he said, he may be taking a rest for a few years. For his sake, yeah, I think it's important he does, but for our sake, I hope he doesn't.
Well, that is true because being the head coach of the Indian men's cricket team does come with its own set of like pressures, expectations, and you've seen the kind of hate and the trolls on social media as well. But again, just looking at Dravid and the kind of philosophy infused in that team, now India adopted that aggressive batting template, right? This was especially that debacle that we had in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2021, where we faced a very upsetting loss. And at that time, it was very new for Rohit Sharma, the skipper, and Rahul Dravid, the coach. So, do you think that was like a turning point? Because a lot of times it happens, right? You have this catalyst, that some turning point that kind of ensures you look at the situation with a whole new mindset. And do you think that was the biggest change?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a conscious decision to do that. I think Rohit Sharma has his success in IPL, and we know how good he is as a captain. So I think whenever Rohit Sharma is the captain, he kind of takes more responsibility in his batting as well. So for India, ever since he's been brilliant throughout. But I think once he shows that responsibility, he himself shows the intent of playing aggressively in the opening overs. It kind of sends a message to the whole team saying that, yeah, look, our captain is playing this way. We also need to take responsibility and play the same way, and not kind of like, I wouldn't say play selfishly, but play according to the situation that the team demands and the environment and the conditions demand. I think it's made a big difference. Think uh, Dravid as well told that I think he has a really good relationship with Rohit Sharma. That also helps a lot. I think his tenure was supposed to end, I think, in the 23 World Cup itself, but then Rohit Sharma kind of had a call with him and convinced him to stay. So that shows that they, yeah, they did have something to build on, and Rohit Sharma believed in whatever Dravid was trying to put across, his tactics, mentality, whatever, and the team also believed in him. So it shows that there was something there. I mean, we'd never know exactly how much of an impact he made through strategies and everything, but you can definitely see that that was a turning point in terms of like being more aggressive in the opening overs, as well as it reduces the pressure for the rest of the batsmen towards the end as well.
Certainly, because when you just look at again the Dravid Rohit tenure, I think India's T20I run rate as well, right? It rose from 7.5 to 8.5, which is quite significant. Shows a definite change in mindset as well. And I think you could see India's performance also improve. We made it to the semi finals in that next edition versus Australia, which again was a very heartbreaking loss. And I think even the fact that India was one of the best teams by a distant mile in T20I speaks for itself, right? So in that sense, I think there is still a lot to celebrate from Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid's kind of contribution in T20Is as well. So do you see this trend again just carrying on, because now we have that momentum and the next coach just has to take it from there?
Yeah, I think also it's not just that uh, we've depended on Rohit Sharma or Kohli or Bumrah or anything. We have a good crop of young cricketers and people who have now got the experience at the highest level through the World Cup. So it's I think it will continue. We have a kind of like a succession period with Rohit Sharma, Kohli retiring, and also Jadeja. So I think the pillar stones are set correctly, and I think it will continue the momentum. It's just about transferring that mentality towards the younger players now that they have some more experience. It's hopefully they will be able to pick up. I know it might take some time, might take another tournament. It's not like we can expect them to win every single tournament, but I think they have what it takes, and India always has like surplus of talent. It's just the mentality sometimes that might be lacking. I think this win kind of sends a message saying that, look, we're here, we dominate, and we also win the key matches, because India has been dominating a lot, even in bilateral series and other matches throughout the past decade almost. So it's just that during the important matches we need to have that mentality. I think this kind of sends a message to the whole team and everyone around the country as well.
I think, yeah, that's actually such a good point, because most of the times we end up taking like bilateral cricket very for granted, like, wins just keep happening. And, we just fixate so much on winning in those ICC events that it just gets really exhausting in that sense. But again, we see there's like a process and a mindset that's being followed. And Arun also goes on to add this very interesting comment about how about Dravid now getting involved in the grassroots level development of women's cricket in India. Do you think, Rohan, that's something that he can consider? Because again, the kind of temperament he has so much to offer. Definitely, women's cricket, I think, will just be richer, right, with his addition.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. I mean, with his experience and everything, and I feel like he would have already been like at the grassroots level within Karnataka itself. I believe he has been putting the foundations and helping around with women's cricket. I feel Karnataka, at least from what knowledge I have, Karnataka has been investing a lot in women's cricket, and not only Dravid, Kohli, and a lot of other famous Karnataka players have been trying to increase awareness and everything. So even when I used to go for uh, coaching and practice, like there's been a huge increase of female cricketers from what I've seen, which is like very encouraging to see. And there's also this one thing with Anil Kumble spin stars or some Anil Kumble spin stars where you're selecting like the top spinners in the country, I mean in the state and stuff. And they were also like it wasn't just close to uh, male cricketers, also female cricketers. So that, and Dravid was also promoting that as well. So I think it's clear that he will definitely make an impact, and it will help future generations a lot. So I think it would be a good idea. I mean, I think he'd definitely take the opportunity to help in any way he can.
Definitely, and that's what makes him such a brilliant servant of the game, not just Indian cricket. And I think Arun just goes on to add here, how about, after some break, Dravid gets involved as a mentor for Indian women's cricket, mainly at the grassroots level. Maybe an invincible team could emerge, something like the invincible Australians, referencing how well they have been doing in women's cricket. And yeah, I think we'll just keep our fingers crossed and kind of hope for that to happen as well. And Rohan, although, through our discussion, we've been speaking so much about the kind of success that he's generated at the T20 level as well. Let's also look at the ODIs. I know every time we think of ODIs, we only think of that ODI World Cup, the loss we faced at home. But even looking at the trend in ODI cricket, India was facing some decline, This was from the beginning of 2020, where there's so much experimentation happening. This was during the pandemic, and we were hammered by South Africa 3-0 as well in that early 2022 series. And India had lost like 11 out of 18 ODI matches they played during that time. perhaps that turning point again, so to say, was that series against West Indies in February 2022, which also marked, the beginning of this Dravid Rohit partnership in ODIs. So, do you think again his presence brought, like kind of spurred this turnaround in ODIs, and it was actually for the better?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dravid took over at a time when there was a lot of turmoil in uh, the captaincy and stuff like that. So he wasn't dealt good cards at all. So for him to manage all of that, there were a lot of, I think, ego clashes and stars in the team, and it was kind of difficult to make everyone gel and come up with a united strategy. But I think once that clear plan was set of, okay, Rohit is going to be the ODI captain, Dravid is going to uh, lead them through as a coach, and they had that. I think it seemed like at that, from that point onwards till now, it's always been a systematic approach, and they have a clear plan of what is happening. Each player knows his role, and they know that they can't take a pragmatic approach to cricket, and because that's the way it was in the past, and it doesn't really work anymore. So I think there's a clear plan and systematic tactics laid out. I think that's helped a lot. And that partnership, like I said, it seems to be that they have a really good partnership, Rohit and Dravid. And along with that, I think Kohli also should be given credit, because he has also gone through a lot of I don't know, maybe uh, emotional turmoil in terms of losing the captaincy and like all of that kind of stuff. But he's still been performing consistently for India under the captaincy of Rohit Sharma, which it's a testament to his character as well. So I think he also deserves credit for how he's been taking the role of not being the main man always. He's supported the team however they need, and he's also improved his batting approach in terms of aggression. If you see, he's been being more aggressive in the beginning as well. That also comes with the belief that, okay, he probably believes that the people after him can also take responsibility. So that comes, again, like you said, the bilateral series, everything is taken for granted, but only once you see performances in that series, you'll be like, he probably thought that, okay, there are people after me who can take the responsibility, and it's not just me. So that gives him the license to try and play more aggressively. So I think, like I said, it once everyone in the team knows their role, it kind of frees up even the important players like Rohit and Kohli to kind of go forth and play more freely.
Certainly, and I think recently, Saurav Ganguly had made this statement as well, of how he, Kohli had told him about stepping down from T20 captaincy, and then Saurav Ganguly wanted him to step down from like the entirety of white ball captaincy as well, and then Rohit Sharma came over, and that's when I think Rahul Dravid kind of really helped ease that transition side of things. But just a segue here, Rohan, just looking at the Indian cricket setup at large as well, do you think like split captaincy would work in a situation like this? Because now I think where we are headed, it's most likely going to happen because Rohit and Virat have, kind of retired from T20. So we will see a new captain in T20s. But do you think split captaincy can be a reality in India?
I think it definitely can. I mean, from what I know, it's cricket is a proper team game. So the only reason why split captaincy might not work is if maybe the media creates like ego clashes or stuff like that. So ideally, from what I know, these are all professional cricketers, and they know they've been playing their whole life. They know how to win. They know that playing individual games will not work in the long run, maybe probably even in the short run. So I think split captaincy should work. Ideally, it gives a kind of extra focus for a particular format, maybe, because then each captain will have their own strategy according to the situation. I think that also might help. But then again, it depends on each person. I think Rohit Sharma as a captain for all formats has been good. It can also be split across, but I think it all depends on the person who's taking the responsibility. I think Rohit Sharma as a captain, as a leader, he kind of like harmonizes the whole dressing room. He's a really good people person, and like, I know, he's good at keeping tabs and trying to keep the team as a collective. So in that scenario, I'd say keeping the same captain would be good, because if there is one person who can unite the whole team, if he's not the captain in the other format, it might cause like a tension in terms of, okay, yeah, exactly. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration, but in a purely tactical and a team basis, definitely it can be split. I think it can, yeah.
Yeah, let's see how things kind of pan out. I think the next few months are very interesting in that sense, to see how this whole situation kind of pans out. And then Akshat goes on to add that Dravid knows how to weather the storm and how to do things by doing the right hard work and following the process, both as a player and the coach. And I think it's a testament to the kind of character he's something, we dwelt upon a little earlier as well. And just coming back to this bilateral ODI cricket side of things, just looking at the success rate of Dravid and
Yeah,
Rohit here, I think just winning 41 out of 56 ODIs in the time frame that they were at the helm. It just speaks volumes, right, about his
yeah.
presence in the setup and the kind of impact he had. So, Rohan, what were your observations? I mean, besides that aggressive intent and getting those fiery starts, India was just so good in ODIs, even in that ODI World Cup as well. So, yeah, what were your takeaways?
My takeaway. So there's this one time when sorry, did it get cut off?
Yeah, we lost you
Can
there
you hear me now?
briefly, Rohan, but I think we can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think there was one time Kohli during an interview or something he said. So Dravid had kind of reminded them that, given them kind of perspective about how once he retired, the things he missed most were not like the stats, the numbers, and all of the records that he created, but the time with his teammates, the dressing room, like the time spent on the field, off the field together. So I think Kohli saying that shows that how much of an impact Dravid has with his experience. It kind of, I think these kind of things put into perspective for every player that, yeah, I mean, I'm not an individual player, this whole team needs to perform to win trophies and everything, and we need to be more collaborative and be together. So I think that's been a big thing I've seen, the dressing room harmony and stuff like that. I know the tactics as well, like you mentioned, the aggressive batting, but the dressing room harmony needs to go along with it. If there's no harmony, the tactics will not work, because it everyone together has to implement the tactics. So the dressing, I'm not sure if this is like a proper observation. It's just that feeling of calm in terms of pressure situations. You don't see us panicking. You don't see uh, quick wickets being lost and then suddenly the whole batting order collapses. It's like, that even if there are difficult times that the team is facing, eventually it's not the end of the world, and they somehow weather the storm, like mentioned by one of the people in the comments. So I think that sense of I don't know, steeliness in terms of nerves. I think that's also an observation I've made.
Definitely. I mean, we've spoken so highly of him and his presence in that T20 and ODI setup. But let's quickly also have a glance at Test cricket right now. India has been the second best Test team in the world, after Australia under Dravid's tenure. I think they've won like what 14 tests, just lost seven, in those 24 matches we have played. And more significantly, winning those important matches, right, against Australia and England, the series we won. So, what did you make of it, Rohan? Again, India is like really good in Test cricket. At home, we're almost unbeatable. But even winning those Test matches in like Australia and England and just keeping that mindset and the tempo right is again like brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, one more series which I think goes under the radar, not is I think the South Africa away series. So it was only the second time India had come out of South Africa without losing. I mean, it's not like not maybe that much to celebrate about not losing the series. They drew 1-1, but I think like playing South Africa in South Africa is one of the most difficult. If you see any team's record, they've always struggled in South Africa, and even New Zealand is the same case. So even Dravid himself kind of struggled in Test cricket at South Africa. He had an average of I think 33. I mean, it's not really bad, but he's normally known for his performance away from home as well. So even he struggled in South Africa, and for him to kind of get that result out against South Africa away from home was also, I think, really difficult. So I think again in Test cricket, he deserved that Test championship as well. I mean, not just him, the Indian team, obviously, but they've been playing really good cricket. Again, bilateral series are taken for granted. It's again a systematic approach. You see that the aggression is not only in terms of aggression doesn't necessarily just mean swinging your bat and hitting, trying to hit boundaries and sixes. It's about the intent that you show. So even in, if you see, there's a quote I think by Brett Lee, or I'm not sure. There's an Australian bowler is like, you people talk about aggression, saying that okay, Chris Gale is very aggressive, he hits sixes, but aggression on the cricket field does not necessarily mean that the most aggression he's seen is by Rahul Dravid on the field. I mean, even in a solid defense, it's kind of showing your intent. It's not about whether you will do it. It doesn't matter what you do. So it's kind of setting your standard on the match and not letting the opponent take control of you. That we've seen even under Kohli, which is very exciting to see all those test matches against Australia. But I think under Dravid, that aggressiveness was there, but there's also some kind of feeling of direction, some kind of feeling of presence of calm, and kind of like proper decision making, which kind of helped the process and earn the silverware. Again, finals, Travis Head took it away, and all of that heartbreak happened. But I think you can see test cricket as well. We made so much progress. Like again, I'll say just 2 matches away from the whole set of World Cup and Test Championship as well. So we've made really good progress in all formats.
Certainly, I think that does put a lot of things in perspective. And I think earlier in your answer as well, you spoke about those the South Africa series as well, the 2021 and 22 one, and even just losing that finals right of the World Test Championship was very like disappointing. And I'm sure that's something he wouldn't want to largely remember. But Rohan, even from those losses, there was just so many lessons, right? India was just it was just a few things that didn't work here and there, but all in all, the process still remains the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, you also see, I think in the press conference before the finals of the T20 World Cup, people talked about his legacy and leaving a legacy, and all he mentioned was, "This is, I just want to get the job done. I know this. There are a lot of players, not just me. I have not won it as a player. It's not just me. There are other players who haven't won it as well. He just wants to do a good job, and that shows his focus on the process, and that's what ultimately leads to results. If you see any player interviews, they normally sound boring in terms of like, yeah, I followed this process, I did that, and that's what we don't really talk about the results, because they know that following the process is the most important, and it's very incredibly difficult to do. First hand experience, your brain always kind of thinks of the result, but being able to focus on the present in the process, trying to do the boring stuff well, I think that's what creates great players and great cricketers. I think Dravid is a testament to that. And you could see the whole process of everything. It's not just the final result that matters. You could see the building blocks being put in place right from India under 19 level itself. He's seen the likes of Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant, Ishan Kishan, Surya Kumar in the India A setup. So I mean, all of these players, once you actually have that not grassroots level, because this is a slightly senior level, but you have that idea of their game from like a whole context before the men's national team, you know how what impact they can deliver at the final stage as well. So it's not just at the final stage that Dravid has delivered. He's kind of set up this whole supply chain, and understood what all has happened, which players and how they can be useful. Akshar Patel as well in the final. In that way, I think the whole process is what Dravid has focused on, and it has ultimately led to just one trophy. I wouldn't say just one trophy, but unfortunately just one trophy, because it definitely deserves more.
Certainly, I think his impact will not go unnoticed, and I'm glad there's at least an ICC trophy to kind of just like silence all those critics who keep I don't know, questioning his credentials. And let's take this comment from Arun as well that goes on to say, over the last 4 to 5 years, it has been rare where the top five has scored 350 plus runs in tests, especially abroad. And that's where, the contribution of number six and below has played a key role in putting up a defendable score. And yeah, he also goes on to add that the runs scored by six and below should be bonus runs for most of the times. I think batting in tests is one area that should have improved under him, especially considering his achievements as a batter. So, Rohan, now what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, we could say based on his achievements and stuff, but then I think in the current generation it's much more difficult to adapt towards test cricket as well. The amount of T20s, the IPL, the pressure in terms of being having to be aggressive, having to score runs. So it's an underrated talent or attribute to have to be able to switch between all three formats. It's really difficult. So the current this thing, I think that's why overall the top order may not be scoring as many runs. It kind of uh, it, I wouldn't say I'm blaming the IPL and T20 on, but it's really difficult to kind of keep switching mentality, switching batting techniques, because uh, it's not like you're the only one changing stuff. It's the bowlers also are catching up on whatever you're changing, and they're also constantly trying to get you out and trying ways to get you out. So I think what happens is the technique maybe falters a bit while the top order goes, while the ball is swinging, while the ball is moving and stuff like that. Later on, uh, there has been a huge improvement in terms of how well Indian bowlers can bat. Like the tail has become less long. It's been a huge improvement. I think Bumrah as well scored 100 or 50. It's my memory is vague, so it kind of shows we would never have imagined that happening. So they've actually focused a lot on the whole batting order and not just the top order. I think that's also kind of a sign of a good team, because whenever you see Australia, England, all these top teams which keep winning, they tail always wags and gets runs for the team where required. And a lot of this is down to do with Jadeja as well, because I think his batting has improved a lot, and he's really showed up in important moments a lot for the team, and he really knows how to bat well with the tail. It's a different skill set actually, because you need to know when to rotate the strike, when to take the onus and try to score runs. It's a real responsibility, and Jadeja deserves credit for that, I think, a lot.
Certainly, I think the way some of the players have just evolved and grown under his tenure has been remarkable. And again, it just goes under the radar because people are so like observant of those silverware and winning
Yeah.
the big trophies as well. And I'm sure so far in our conversation, like 36 minutes worth is definitely not enough to kind of just celebrate and look back at the legacy of Rahul Dravid. But now that he's, his contract is done, he's stepping aside. Of course, there is all he's always going to have a special place in our heart. But now, Rohan, the reins of the men's cricket team is going to Gautam Gambhir right now. He's been appointed as the new head coach. I'm sure you must have seen all the reports, floating around of, how obvious it was that he would get the role. But are you excited that someone like Gigi is going to be taking up this big role? He's coming from a massive win with KKR. We saw the brand of cricket they played in the IPL.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I thought it was really fishy when him and Kohli were kind of cuddling and hugging and being really friendly. I was like, something is up. So now we know. I think by then they already knew that maybe Gautam Gambhir was planning to apply for the for the role of the coach of the national team as well. But I think he's an incredible coach. I mean, we've heard him speaking as a analyst in shows as well, and he's always almost nearly spot on almost all the time about in terms of what are the weaknesses of a particular person, what are the strengths, and how their approach is and everything. So I think he also brings in a kind of direct approach. I don't think he beats around the bush at all. So that might be helpful as well in terms of like getting a reality check sometimes, because we do have a lot of huge stars in the dressing room, and that they might need a bit of that reality check sometimes. I know they're all professionals and they know how to deal with it, but I think Gambhir being a tactician and the mentality is, you could say, I think he's kind of really good with his mentality. I think it would really help. He has a really strong mentality from whatever we have observed with the KKR win as well, and whenever I've heard him speak. So I think it'll be a really positive change, and I think whatever foundation has been laid, I think Gambhir can take it to the next level as well.
Absolutely. And fingers crossed, let's see how his tenure kind of just pans out. And Arun also adds a quick point here, which says that not being able to score 300 plus in 4 innings of a World Test Championship finals is what has backfired and is going unnoticed. To win a WTC finals, there is a need to put more runs on the board. So, yeah, Rohan, quick thoughts on this as well. And again, we are dwelling into a match that happened like way back in the past, but your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, I mean, it's a quite an easy observation. I think we need to score more runs to to win matches. But like I said, it's difficult. I think the World Test Championship finals as well. What we need to know is it happened 1 week after the IPL finals. So the Aussies didn't have the IPL to play. They didn't have the IPL to play. They had a long period of preparation. They had a long period to transition from white ball and limited over cricket to red ball cricket. World Test Championship finals for India was 1 week, I think, on a Sunday, and the next week they were playing again. Like I said, it's really difficult to transition. It's really underrated how some players easily do it. I think it's like Kane Williamson, for example, before he's been really good at transitioning aggression and Test cricket as well. So it's very underrated skill set and very difficult to do. I think that also is really important. And not just the batting, I think he was also missing. So it wasn't a very completely full strength squad. So that transition is always difficult, I'd say. But I think, yeah, obviously Arun is right. We need to score more runs. That batting technique is something that will help a lot if we're able to.
Definitely, and just taking a small segue here again, no one asked for it, but Rohan, are you also of the point of view that the World Test Championship final by itself should be played like a three-match series, perhaps? Because just putting the onus entirely on one match is just maybe unfair because Test match has very different demands. And are you also an advocate of having something like a three-match Test series, or is this one match going to give you all your answers?
I think bearing in mind the amount of matches the players already play, it's already a pretty hectic schedule. Like you see Virat Kohli having to take breaks and stuff like that. It's really stressful. So adding three test matches that will probably make it even more. So we need to. I know it's difficult for us fans to understand that, but we need to see it in the players' perspective as well. I don't think it's very easy to just play three test matches of that level of pressure. That's one thing. And I'd say, I mean, I wouldn't say playing three matches makes much sense because like in that case you would have to play, you'd say the same thing about ODIs and T20s as well. It's still a final match. You've gone through the whole semi-finals, whole process of that. It's again, if you do a series, um, it's kind of like a league stage again, almost. A finals is supposed not supposed to be, but in general, it's like the Aussies did the past two World Cups. So if you make it a three-match series, again it becomes like a league stage where you're like, okay, the team that plays well over the three matches wins, and not like the team that is fully focused, like not fully focused, but like on that day was actually really, really good and they deserve to win. So I'd say in terms of cup competitions like this, I don't think I personally would prefer just the one match, and bearing in mind the players, because I mean I'm not going to say I played a high level or anything, but I know how, how tiring it must feel to be playing that level of intense cricket, mentally challenging cricket. It will take a toll. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. And I think this was mentioned as one of the suggestions by, I don't know if it was Rohit Sharma or Virat Kohli, during that time when we had lost, that it should be a
Yeah.
three-match series because you're going through the whole brunt of a two-year cycle and putting the onus entirely on one match is unfair. But I think that's cricket. And as you rightly said, the workload management is something that kind of has to be taken into account because otherwise, I don't know, it's like the creation of a Super 8 or a Super 6 and all of that. It
Yeah.
just makes, I don't know, where things very complicated. But yeah, Rohan, that pretty much does conclude our discussion as well. That started with the discussion of Rahul Dravid and his legacy, all the way till if WTC should have a three-match series
Yeah.
as well. And yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you, Rohan, for joining me on this Monday, to have this lovely conversation. I know you're a big fan of Rahul Dravid, so it was a no-brainer. I had to invite you to look back at his legacy, and to all our viewers who joined in and asked these lovely questions. Thank you so much. And for the folks who are catching this stream a little later on, do share your thoughts in the comments. We will be looking out for that as well. And yeah, we are also doing a lot of live shows like this with cricket fanatics and experts. So make sure you follow and subscribe to Never in the Back Foot on all our social media platforms and on YouTube as well. We also have an audio podcast, and episode 2 featured Rohan. So you can check out his story then from like the 4 year old, no, not 4 year old, the 4 year back story of Rohan as well. And yeah, guys, that's all for from us for now. And take care. Thanks, Rohan. Bye.